Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast, brought to you by Active Management, the world's leading fitness business coaches who in 2015 will help you #grow your business. This is the world's #1 podcast for fitness business owners and managers. We interview real owners and learn what has been working for them to make them so successful. Here's the host of the Fitness Business Podcast, Chantal.
Happy Podtober, everyone. We are already 2 weeks into Podtober, and what an incredible month it's been already. So, as you know, we kicked off the month with our Best Of show, which was show 20, and that featured some of the best advice from our guests in the first 20 shows. Then last week, show 21 was with Robbie Baxter, and that was, I've got to tell you, without a doubt, one of my favorite shows of the year. If you missed it, then make sure you go back and check it out. I promise you, your business will thank you for it. Now, let's talk about this week's show. JT from Active Management is back again, and today he talks to us all about the role of people in our business. And he asks the question, are we actually paying them enough attention? Should there be a stronger focus on HR in our businesses? After we talk about that, we then dive into demographics, and he tells us that we can no longer assume that traditional segmentation is relevant. And as a result, he's also going to give us some insights on what we need to do better to really understand our customers. So listen out for that. There's some really good tips and also a challenge for you at the end of that one. Now, before we flip over into that interview, don't forget, we have our Podtober prize giveaway. And that means that one of you guys will win a copy of The Membership Economy. Now, just in case you didn't catch last week's show, The Membership Economy is the book written by last week's guest, Robbie Baxter. So make sure you stay tuned until the end of the show to find out how you can go in the draw to win. Now, also during the show, we're going to hear from one of our fabulous sponsors, Tribe Team Training. Now, I've got to tell you guys, if you are a club owner and you haven't yet heard of Tribe, then you need to listen up for this segment, because Tribe Team Training is a complete small group training business system, and it is helping clubs make more money without having to sell more memberships. So make sure you take a listen, and that's a little bit later on in the show. For now, let's dive straight into my catch up with JT from Active Management. Okay, you are back listening to the Fitness Business Podcast, and a very warm welcome to JT.
Hey Chantal, welcome to Podtober.
We love Podtober. Happy Podtober.
Happy Podtober.
Well, how have you been? What's been happening in your world?
Well, I've been pretty good, pretty busy doing stuff. You know, technical word again comes up. Stuff.
Define stuff.
Celebrating Podtober.
Well,
you know,
who wouldn't? I feel like we should have a little cake.
A cake.
Candles or something like that.
I like that idea. Any reason to have cake.
Yeah, that's right.
I've got to admit, I love the interview on show 21 with Robbie Baxter.
How good was that?
Wow, she just gets it. And it's just, everything she talked about was so relevant for the fitness industry. I loved her references to CrossFit.
Yeah, it kind of brought it home, didn't it? It kind of made you go, right, that's what she's, and makes sense.
Was it her sister that?
Yeah, I think, it was her sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just found it fascinating, and I just think as an industry we can learn so much from that book. The onboarding of members, just the whole process is just very cool.
I particularly liked how she gave specific examples throughout the book, and I think it's especially in the second half from memory, about the different models. And I thought that was really good, because then you could put yourself in the situation and say, okay, well, this applies to me.
Yeah, I agree. Great book. I mean, it should be part of everyone's professional library, I think.
Agree.
What else have I done? Well, actually, at the moment, I'm preparing for my last industry leaders roundtable meetings for the year. So I've been doing some research around people in our businesses.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Well, I think, the fitness industry to me is at a bit of a crossroads, because we've got one style of club or flavour of club going down the road of minimising staff, minimising wages, and then at the other end of the spectrum we've still got the high service clubs. And even on those clubs that have got minimal wages or minimal staff, they still have one or two. So people in our business, I still think is such a critical factor.
Yeah.
So here's what I found. Interesting 3 facts. Fact 1, research from McKinsey found that CEOs rank human resources as a top challenge. No shit.
No surprise there.
No surprise there. Yet they rank human resources as only the 8th or 9th most important function in a company. So it's like one of their top challenges, but it's sales, marketing, finances, HR. Fact number 2, generally the CFO, the finance dude, helps the CEO lead a company. And no one at that top level is involved in building and assigning talent to unleash an organisation's energy.
And yet people are the lifeblood, aren't they? They are the lifeblood of the business.
And then fact number 3 that I found is human resources tend to reach for the shiny, bright objects of human resources like new research, talent management insights, and leadership in order to solve their problems. Mm-hmm. So it was quite fascinating. And while most of the research I read related to big companies, I think the message is still critical for the local gym, the independent operator, the franchise business, or even a PT business, whether you've got one employee or a bucket load of employees. We simply need to spend more time with our people. We need to elevate human resources in our daily task list. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think when we see businesses that do invest and do take that time and do make it a priority, then they are the standouts, aren't they?
Yeah.
You see the differences between those businesses that take that so seriously.
And I think we can still do better at it, obviously. Simon Sinek says in his book, Leaders Eat Last, that you cannot substitute money for time with the boss. In other words, many employees value a regular catch-up with the leader of the organisation above money.
It's probably a good time for us to ask ourselves, when was the last time you had a catch-up with
your boss or your team?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This might be a really good on-the-spot question to think about.
Yeah, and maybe it stimulates some action in our clubs back there. I mean, I think back to when I was a club manager. I used to love when I got half an hour with the owner of the business. I used to love it. And the first gym I worked at, they were silent partners, so I never saw the owners. But the second one, he was a very loud partner or owner of the business. And I loved spending half an hour with him talking. Yeah. And I just think, you know what, maybe I wish I'd done that more with my team in hindsight, because I'm learning that
it's so valuable.
So valuable.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think, maybe as a challenge for us as a leader of the business, we need to change the focus of HR. Whether we're the club manager or we are the club owner, we need to really focus on HR a bit more. And maybe here's a couple of suggestions that you could put on your job description as the HR manager, listeners out there.
Tell us, give them to us.
So I think one of the first ones is we need to remember the people. We need to always consider the people aspect when discussing or thinking strategy in our business. I think we focus a lot on product, we focus a lot on pricing, but we don't focus a lot on the people. And this is critical when we're trying to reduce our expenses. We go, okay, well, let's change the rosters, reduce our wages. And we're not thinking about the people involved. And we're not thinking about the people involved when we're doing a new product or a new service, when we've got to be recruiting or performance managing our team. So I think if we have, let's say, a filter of remembering the people, that'd be a good start.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Number 2, maybe focus on the here and now. Let's look at the best practices from other businesses in and out of the fitness industry. There are some great fitness businesses around the world who do cool stuff with their team. There's some terrible ones as well. But just that's like in any industry. So what we need to do is we need to learn from the fitness industry businesses plus the businesses outside and say, okay, well, what are they doing well? What could we learn from them?
Take notice.
What about professionally developing our own human resource skills?
There's a good one.
Yeah, understanding what the results of performance reviews actually mean to the individual, making sense of any employee data that you collect, and investing in yourself in order to grow your own people. You know, we tend to go off and we'll develop our skills around HR administration, like what forms we need to fill out or
processes.
Systems,
Yeah.
So I think as owners and managers, we could really professionally develop these HR skills. Mm-hmm. And then the last one that I'd chuck out there would be walk away from time wasting. Especially in small business, we invest in human resource help, and I'm putting inverted commas help, or what I talked about earlier, those shiny, bright objects that have very little impact. You know, one of the great examples that I see constantly with the clients that we work with is worrying, how do we manage the millennials?
Oh, God.
And that's the response that we get.
Yeah, and it does. It comes up time and time again.
But there is little compelling evidence to suggest young workers, i.e. millennials, work any differently to older people or older workers. How we communicate to them may be different, but they work the same. So, because they're humans. And spend your energy on improving your people skills as opposed to looking at just a subset of people skills.
Yeah, it sounds like the key there is that word that you use, communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
So I think, you know, for me, they're my 4 top ones that I really think about in our industry we need to focus on, remembering the people, focusing on the here and now, developing our own HR skills and walking away from the time-wasting HR activities. What about you? Any of them pop?
Yeah, definitely. I think probably the thing that stood out to me from that list that you just went through is that best practices and being in an opportunity or finding an opportunity where you can not only learn from people within the industry, which is absolutely essential, but as you say, getting an understanding of what's happening outside the industry as well, keeping up to date with what our peers are doing. And I mean, that type of, you know, without having to blatantly throw in a sponsor name here, but I'm going to anyway, that kind of like industry leader Rex Roundtable sort of situation is where, as business owners, we can go to ensure that, hey, you know, how do you guys handle this situation? You know, what do you do with your team when this happens?
Yeah.
Are you up to date with the best practices? And I think that's what kind of resonates with me in those things that you just mentioned.
You know, even in saying what you just said, round table weakness is exactly like those big businesses, like from McKinsey. We rank human resources as a top challenge, yet when we put the agenda together of a round table meeting, human resources is 8th or 9th on the list.
There you go. So
we need
what does that mean?
We need to start walking the talk as well.
Exactly. There's action straight off the back of today's podcast.
Another really interesting point around HR is obviously wages. And I read this fascinating study from the London Business School that found that non-CEOs earn on average 2% less in companies that had great brand recognition. So
how does that work?
Well, it goes further to say that the CEOs earned 12% less in these companies that had great brand recognition. So what they're basically saying is to work in a company that has awesome brand recognition, people are prepared to work for less money.
Okay, so if I want to work for
Apple,
Google, whoever it is, that I might be prepared to take a bit of a salary hit just because I can tell people that I'm the CEO of Google.
Correct.
Right, gotcha.
When are you applying?
Yeah, exactly.
And psychologists explain this as the identity theory, and this means people enjoy self-enhancement through brand association.
So does this link, I feel like there's a link back to status here somewhere. Is there, is that where we're headed?
Well,
kind of,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We are. You know, the status of being able to say to their peers, oh, I work for Google or I work for, you know, what's that terrible movie, The Internship?
Oh, yeah. On the line.
Yeah, great movie, but still, you know, the status of saying that they were working for Google is so key. And, you know, if you think about some of the big brands of fitness around the world, when you walk in there and say, oh, I work for this company, it's like, oh, wow, you must be good.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. For younger employees where they work with a strong brand, it signified to them that that business is really competent. So they were saying they linked business competency with brand significance. So in other words, they look at Apple and go, big brand, they must be really competent.
They must be good at what they do. And yeah.
They linked brand significancy with business competency, which for them meant long-term employment. And therefore, they would be happier to work for less money.
Yeah. To me, this is bringing up in my mind the old, when you think about brands that are on the shelf at the supermarket and stuff like that, the ones that are known, that you've seen out in the market, that you've heard of and have this name, that, as we know, they're the ones that you trust.
Yes.
So, or perceived trust. So I think this all falls into that similar type of vein, doesn't it?
It's exactly the same. So a consumer trusts that brand, then also an employee trusts that brand. So a strong brand, whether you're a PT studio, whether you are a chain of health clubs or you're an independent club, if you have a strong brand in your community, state, country, whatever it may be, you're going to attract quality candidates because brand significance, business competency. Plus, potentially you'll be able to have a lower payroll because of the status working for the brand. It's pretty cool.
Fascinating. That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it really quite interesting doing that. So, round table guys, you're in for a bit of fun over the next month.
Okay, so let's move on to today's topic. What are you going to actually talk to us about today, JT?
Well, today's topic is what trendwatching.com call the post-demographic consumerism trend.
Oh, there's some big words in this podcast today.
Yeah, there are.
There's a mouthful.
Actually, one of the cool things is around this. I'd read about it through trendwatching.com, but one of the Fitness Business's podcast's newest subscribers, because she sent me an email, is Kate Cracknell. And hi, Kate, if you're listening.
Hi, Kate.
She's the editor of Health Club Management magazine, which is out of the UK and arguably for me one of the best industry magazines. In fact, they have a free digital subscription that we should put on the show notes for this week.
We can definitely do that.
Because it's awesome. It's fantastic.
Cool.
Anyway, Kate featured this particular trend in the August edition, and it really resonated for me because of a number of reasons, but I can see a whole lot of relevance to us in our industry. And in essence, the consumer is now behaving in more ways and more consistently in ways that we simply don't expect. Got an example?
Yes, please.
Okay, me.
Tell us about you as a consumer.
As a consumer. So a 45-plus-year-old male who loves rugby, in fact, most sports. It wouldn't be hard to demographically pick me. Prior to 2013, 14, I had only ever watched one game of netball in my life. And to be perfectly honest, it was only the last 20 seconds of a game. And that was back in 1991 when the Australian Diamonds won the World Cup.
Oh, good reason to watch.
Good reason to watch. Yeah. All the girls jumped on each other at the end. But the only reason I watched was because I was in a pub waiting for the Wallabies to play. So that was my only sort of brush with netball. Yeah. So based on my demographics, I am not a netball fan. So if you're trying to market to me, I'm not going to.
We wouldn't. Yeah.
You're not going to get.
We wouldn't typically. No.
Correct. But now with a 7-year-old female, mad keen netballer, I'm now a fan of netball. Zoe and I will watch the Swifts game on TV most weeks, or we'll go to a game live. Everything stopped back in August in our house when the Diamonds were playing in the World Cup final. It all completely changed. So the general description of a netball fan, I don't meet.
No, you're not what I would typically paint
as the netball fan. But I am now a fan of the game. So the marketing of netball, whilst would be going to their demographic, is going to miss me. Mm. But I am a fan. Does that make sense?
Yep, it absolutely does.
You know, some other examples that were shared by Trend Watching and Health Club Management was Lululemon.
Yes. as we know.
Are you wearing any today?
I'm not today. I have plenty of other brand names on.
I have my Lululemon tracky pants on.
You do.
Yes. Anyway, traditionally, ladies only.
Yes.
Traditionally, yoga brand.
Well, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
We've just proven a point, I think.
Yeah, good point. You're not wearing any and I've got pants
on.
Well, they've opened their men's only store in New York. They have a men's only Twitter account now.
Wow.
So they've gone, okay.
They've recognised that there's
a market.
This other market out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another example, gamers.
Gamers.
Computer gamers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people that play online, Wii or PlayStation or computer games, Angry Birds or whatever else is out there. In fact, I'm sure when we talk about gamers, everybody listening, if you close your eyes, you can picture what a gamer would look like.
Yeah, I think I can. I think I've got an image.
Okay, what's your image?
Okay, well, God, I don't want to say the wrong thing here.
You can't offend anybody here.
So I guess I am right now picturing someone that is probably maybe lives at home with mum and dad.
Okay, hey, let's go demographically. Let's start.
Yeah,
male or female?
Male. Definitely male.
Okay, that's demographic one. Demographic two would be age. What age?
I'm going to say maybe between like 18 and 25 is what I'm thinking.
Yep, so male, maybe, 18 and 25.
Yep.
Income, like working or not working?
I would say probably if they are working, they're working part-time.
Yep. Because
I'm kind of envisaging this person is spending a lot of hours behind the computer screen. So maybe working part-time in a local job, not kind of like a career person.
Yeah, got it. Maybe a student.
God, I hope I'm not saying the wrong thing. Possibly a student, and as I was pertaining to earlier, maybe just living at home with mum and dad. And
demographically, what else can we? So culturally, it would be across multiple cultures.
Yeah,
wouldn't matter.
Yeah, no.
Across multiple religions. What else demographically could we say? Oh, how often do they shower?
in between games?
Yeah, not often. What about haircuts? Do they get them very often?
No.
And
I'm envisaging kind of a bit
tubby.
I want to say daggy, sort of like and when I say daggy, I mean like there's not someone sitting behind the computer screen in a suit. They're kind of just in their tracky dacks, and I know I'm sitting there tracky dacks and boots. That's it. That's my picture in my head.
Do you know what? That's my picture too, and I reckon that's the picture of most of our listeners are thinking about gamers as well. In the UK, women account for the majority of video game players.
No way.
There are more video game players over the age of 44 than under the age of 18.
No way.
So demographically, we got it completely wrong. We've got our image that's probably been impacted by the media.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're going out and we're going out to market that product, that's our image. We've missed the mark.
Yeah. Lucky we're not marketing
video games.
The video games.
Yeah, we wouldn't sell many games, would we?
Wouldn't be very good.
So you can see the limitations that we place on our business if we're marketing by demographics now.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, age, sex, income bracket, nationality, and more demographic criteria is really less meaningful now as a behaviour predictor than ever before.
I'm so glad you explained that, because when you gave us that segue about demographics and everything in the last show that we did together, I kind of was going, wow, this is going to be really interesting, and now it makes a lot more sense what you're talking about.
I mean, let's be honest. Who would have thought that my wife and I would be thinking about seeing Taylor Swift?
I would not have put money on that. No.
But when she's the favourite singer of a 7-year-old and you listen to her all the time, you become a fan.
Yeah.
It's not bad music.
Yeah.
But my family's behaviour is probably more common than, in fact, uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
George, I'm not a regard to this.
Oh.
Yeah. He's from BBC in the UK.
Okay.
G'day, George.
Yeah.
He said this: if you look at the list of 1,000 favourite artists for 60-year-olds and compare that list with favourite artists of 13-year-olds, there's a 40% overlap.
Wow.
So again,
I get it. Yeah, I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. If we look at companies like Uber,
mm-hmm.
Airbnb, Zipcars in the US, nearly 52% of users were over the age of 35.
Really? 52%. The majority were over
the age of 35. Whereas you'd think like just young people backpackers would be doing Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly.
So what this means for us in business is that there are few, if any, products, services or experiences can remain siloed to one demographic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. We
need to not focus on the demographics, but rather the needs of a group of people. Mm-hmm. So, when I look at your group fitness class, you've got a bucket load of different people there, but they all have a need for strength training because they're doing body pump, for example.
Yeah.
So the commonality for our consumers will be needs moving forward, not age or sex.
Right. Yes.
And that's what we need to get our head around.
Demographics,
Yeah. And we shouldn't be scared of this. We should actually be pretty excited because I think it opens up a whole lot more opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, look at CrossFitters as an example. Many CrossFitters are now doing yoga.
Because there's that common need amongst that group of people to have that stretch component and that.
Yeah. In health club management, they cite the example of Diamond Dallas Page. He's an ex-US wrestler.
I love that name.
Diamond Dallas Page, so cool. An ex-US wrestler who started doing yoga for his rehab when he got injured. So he launched DDP Yoga. That's Diamond Dallas Page Yoga, targeting men who were maybe skeptical of the conventional spiritual program of yoga. So it's a niche. So
he recognised that. That opportunity in the market.
Got it.
Yep.
So I think there's a huge opportunity for us when we start to break away from being limited by demographics. And I know on a previous show, I just can't remember what show it was, I talked about building your avatar.
Yeah, that was an early show.
Yeah, it might have been.
That was an early show. I'll have to find it in the show notes.
Ago.
Yeah, I think it was in the single digits.
Shows, okay. So people go back to the single digits ones. Mm. And certainly you can start building your avatar based on demographical information, but you'll quickly move from the constraints of age, sex, location and income. You'll move from that because you'll need to get deeper down and find out more. You need to
get that more specific to build that avatar.
Yeah. Mm. So what we need to know about our avatar or our main customer that we want to approach is what are their wants. So let's aim, if we're trying to work this out, let's aim, for example, to name 5 things that this avatar would have on their life wish list. Not what they want in a gym, but what do they want in life? What would be 5 things on their wish list? Their worries. What are 5 things that they are worried about in life and try and be as specific as possible? What are their threats? What are 3 or 5 threats to your member or your potential consumer's success, both personal success or professional success or even success in their gym or exercise, that could be overcome by using aspects or components of your services?
Yep.
And then the last one that we need to think about with this is what are the big opportunities, like big opportunities? What are 3 or 5 opportunities that could open up for your member or your client when they use aspects or components of your club or your services? So we pull out the basic demographic crap and we focus on their wants, their worries, their threats and their opportunities.
It's really a much more, I'm going to use the word intimate, picture of your customer, isn't it? It's a much more intimate understanding of them, far beyond what traditional demographics can tell us.
Correct. And I think, once you complete this component of that avatar, you're going to be well prepared for a new consumer. And I think it opens up new markets.
Yeah.
It opens up huge markets. So, I think for people out there, our challenge that I want to give you is, as an industry, we need to explore new opportunities for products and services through innovation. Simple as that.
I love it when you leave us with a challenge. Thanks, JT. Okay, so what do you have for us next month?
Yeah, so next time we're going to talk about the consumer being able to and being happy to trust clubs or businesses that promise mysterious, suspenseful and surprising new experiences. So I want to call this trend playfulness.
Playfulness. I think it's quite appropriate for the fitness industry. I like that.
So, so that's whenever we're on next.
We
a few
are.
shows after that.
Show 26.
Okay, show 26, we'll talk about
13th of November.
Playfulness.
Wow. Just before we head into the Christmas period.
Yeah.
Nice one. Okay, well, I very much look forward to that playfulness. That'll be a good one to chat about. So, JT, thanks so much. Thanks for popping by.
My pleasure. Happy Podtober again to you.
Happy Podtober. Hope everyone has a good Podtober.
I love it.
I love Podtober too.
The Fitness Business Podcast is very appreciative of our podcast partners. Here's a quick word from one of our partners.
As you know, one of our goals at the Fitness Business Podcast is to help you grow your business. So I love it when I can tell you about solutions to help you do just that. One of our podcast sponsors is Tribe Team Training, and I'll tell you exactly why you need to remember that name. Let me start by asking you 3 questions. Is your club struggling to grow your membership numbers because of more and more competition? Is your club under pressure to reduce membership fees for your existing members? Do you lose members who go to niche small group programs like CrossFit, boot camps, and boxing, where they often pay double what they're paying with you? Well, the good news is that some clubs have found a new way to grow their club's revenue and profit without having to sell extra memberships. They're doing this by implementing a highly profitable small group training system called Tribe Team Training. In fact, one regional club with only 600 members takes over $200,000 per year on top of their membership fees from their Tribe Team Training program. So, what's it all about? Well, Tribe Team Training is a complete small group training business system that helps clubs make more money without having to sell more memberships. Whether you're currently running small group training or not, it is worth taking the time to see what Tribe Team Training can add to your business. In fact, some clubs have grown to over 30, 40, and 50 sessions per week, with members paying $10 to $15 extra per session. Most clubs have underutilized space or time that can be generating extra cash for the club, extra work for the trainers and the Group X instructors, plus delivering outstanding results for members. The Tribe programs work on large exercise floors and in small functional training spaces with as little as 60 square meters. You may have already have functional training equipment, but without the consistent delivery of fresh programs, it's difficult to take maximum advantage of it. Now, regardless of the success of your current programs, Tribe is offering club owners a free online briefing so you can see for yourself the difference between team training and small group training, the difference it can make to your members, the opportunities it gives to your trainers and instructors, and the extra income it can add to your club. So, to register for your free briefing, all you need to do is head over to tribeteamtraining.com or tribeteamtraining.com.au. Let me tell you those addresses again. It's tribeteamtraining.com or tribeteamtraining.com.au. And of course, a copy of both of those website links will be in today's show notes. Okay, crew, as promised at the start of the show, to celebrate Podtober, we're giving away a copy of The Membership Economy, written by Robbie Kelman-Baxter. Now, for your chance to win the book, all you need to do is simply subscribe to the show notes anytime during October. Now, if you're wondering how to do that, all you need to do is head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, and on the right-hand side of the homepage, there is a space that says subscribe to show notes. Just leave your name and email address there and you are straight in the draw. So don't miss out. This is an awesome book. You need to read it. Head over there right now and subscribe to the show notes.
It's time for the Fitness Business Podcast wrap.
Okay, once again, it was great catching up with JT today. So here are some of my favorite takeaways from our chat. Now, when talking about HR, JT told us that many employees value a catch up with the leaders of an organization even more than they value the money. Pretty incredible, right? And as business owners, we may need to actually change the focus that we currently have on HR. And that is, there's a great possibility that we need to focus more on it. He also reminded us to always learn both from within as well as outside the fitness industry. Now, when we spoke about demographics, JT told us that we can no longer assume that traditional segmentation is still relevant and that there are few, if any, products, services and experiences that can actually remain siloed to one specific demographic. What we need to do is look at a much more intimate profile of our customers in order to really understand them. Okay, now all of the links that JT mentioned are in today's show notes. So make sure that you head over, you know where to go, fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, and just click on today's show to find out those links and the notes. Okay, guys, so on next week's show, this is so exciting. I'm actually going to be chatting to Deborah Warner, who is the president and CEO of Mile High Run Club in New York City. That is going to be very cool. I can't wait for that one. Okay, guys, so I wish you all a very, very happy Podtober. Do me a huge favor at some time when you're listening to this show over the next couple of days, share the podcast love. Send out our link to some friends, colleagues, people that you work with, people that you know will benefit from the information that we put out there each week. We hope that you're enjoying the show. We want to encourage more people to be listening to the show, and that's what Podtober is all about. So thanks so much for your support, guys. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you are getting lots and lots out of the show. That's it for today. What you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
You have been listening to the world's #1 podcast called the Fitness Business Podcast, brought to you by Active Management. We are dedicated to helping your fitness business #grow in 2015. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au for resources, tools, and more to help you. And by far, the best value for you is to become a member. So join today at www.activemgmt.com.au.